Uh, so I think so last session, what is Oracle did? You guys understood? Any questions there? Let me share my screen. Total you have in the next morning session when you practice. So that and if required, I can give you a call. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. You guys able to see my screen? Fine. So today, till yesterday, yesterday class. So I have explained about what is Oracle, right? So in today's class, okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, how do we create a user? How do we connect to an user? Okay, so this part I'll show today. And what are the types of SQL? What are the different commands that we are using in SQL? What each command is going to do? So this part I'm going to explain. Okay, now to connect to like to create this is for the first thing is creating user is not our job. Creating user is an administrator job. But when we are practicing, so we need to know how do we create users as we are going to use the same multiple users for different scenarios. Now, when we wanted to have multiple users for different scenarios, what we should do? We should know how do we create a user. So that is one of the basic functionality that we should know. Okay, but when you go as a but yeah, having this knowledge is very helpful to us. Okay, now we should connect to system schema. So create a connection. So in the same automatically saved in the left hand for each schema, we have to create one connection. Okay, for each user or for each this SQL is going to this particular user only time. Different users will be created for different reasons. So we will also have to do the operations in the specific user only. So that is the reason we are going to create for each user. Connection, this worksheet is going to open. Or if the worksheet did not open, just right click on the connection, open SQL worksheet. Or even if you wanted to, if you wanted one more duplicate sheet, there is one more SQL option. If you click on this one, it will ask for which connection you need a worksheet. Select the connection, click OK. So that one more worksheet. So how many worksheets that we wanted, those many worksheets that we can create. So one user with one worksheet, the other user with other worksheet like that. For different users, different worksheets. Okay. Now once we connect to the worksheet, we have to use a certain syntax to create a user. So this is the default syntax. This is the default syntax. So when we wanted to create any user, this is the only syntax that you have to use it. Create user, and we have to give the username. So I'm giving SLK17 as user, identified by password. So password also I'm giving SLK17 only. That is up to us. The user we can create with any name. Okay. The password we can give any password. But no, we should remember this username passwords. If you forget, you cannot get it back. You don't have forget password option, to get the password back. So if you forget, then your user will gone. Then you have to create another user. Put a semicolon. Select the statement that we wanted to execute. So in a single worksheet, we can write multiple statements also, multiple SQL statements. Now to execute each SQL statement, we have to select which particular statement that we have to execute. Select the statement. This is the run button. Just click on the run button. So in the bottom, where in the navigation panel, where you'll be able to see the output, script output. See, the user is created. Now, once user is created, we have to give the privileges. What kind of privileges this user should have. Now, so just to give that, what we should do, grant DBA meaning database administrator, grant DBA to SLK17. Because what I'm giving an instruction about this by using this grant is I'm giving complete database administrator access to this SLK17 user as well. So usually in real time, what we do, so like we'll be granting select, insert, update, delete, only specific operations that we'll be giving. So whatever the operation that we are going to give, this is going to work according to that only. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work for the other operations until unless we give DBA. Grant succeeded. Now once grant is succeeded, now we have created a user and we are giving privileges. So once we create a user, if we don't give privileges, you will not be able to connect to this user because the privileges are not there. Because if privileges is not there, then the system would not be able to understand what kind of operation or what kind of action that this user has to take. That is the reason giving privileges is very, very important. Now click on the plus symbol. So this is the user which I just created. SLK17. Schema. And username is, this is case sensitive. We have to use the case sensitive password, username passwords. And test the connection. In real time, you have to get this hostname, port number, SID or service name from your team members and this username password as well. Once we give it, don't forget to save the password. Then test the connection. Make sure the test status is success. Then connect. More connection is open. When we double click on it, it will connect. Then open SQL worksheet. Now to see the difference, we are which user? Show user. When you click on show user, here it is showing the user is system. Now in SLK17 schema, I also for the same SQL show user, semicolon, select it, run it. See, the user is SLK17. So this is how we are going to create a user, giving privileges, connect to the user. Now when we execute this SQL, show user, we will understand we connected to which user. Okay. Any questions? So by default, right? So Oracle installation, for the people whoever I did, for them, I will be giving the password as admin only. Okay, I'll be giving the password as admin only. So don't try to install by yourself this Oracle software. Okay, I will get the software installed in your laptops. Because when you try to install, then if something goes wrong, then you will have to change your OS completely. Then only it will work. Otherwise, it is not going to work. So that is the reason. Don't experiment to install the Oracle software. Now, to know number of tables are views in the table, number of tables are there in the database. So we can just write a select statement. Select star from tab. There is no table in SLK 17 because we did not create anything, right? Now let me execute the same query in system schema. There are many tables available here. Tables, views, synonyms. Okay. So there are many tables that are created here. Okay. Now when we wanted to see all the list of tables, we have to use the syntax. Select star from tab is going to give you just a table name and what is the object name and type of object, what object it is. Okay. Because in the initial days when you start practicing it, right? So sometimes we will be creating table, but will not be able to see it. Okay. Now, what are the or we might forget the table name with which name we have created the table. Today, we might have created the table with employee name, employee table. But we might have forgot and we would be looking for student table. Or we have created employee table, but the table name is instead of EMP or instead of employee, we have given EMP. But we were trying with employee. So in this case, it will be very difficult for us to identify what exact table name that we have created. Just to identify that, you can use this syntax. Select star from tab, so that what you can do, you can execute this query and you can see what are the list of tables which are available in this user, and accordingly you can make use of the tables whatever you have already created. Any questions here? Guys, anyone have any questions?
No, bro.
Is it fine? How do we create a user and how do we see the list of tables?
Yes, bro.
Yes, no, introduce.
Fine. Now let us see the classifications. Okay. Now this SQL is divided into 5 types. Okay, based on the commands or based on the SQL statements. Okay, that we have. Okay, so SQL. So they have divided this into 5 types. So they are DDL, DML, DRL, TCL, and DCL. DDL meaning data definition language. So in the first class and the second class, I mentioned that. So in the database where we are going to store the data in the form of tables. Data we are going to store in the form of tables. Now, when we have a table, so we are telling that we are going to store the data in the form of a table. But how do we store it? In the which form it is going to store? Okay, what is the process to create That means we are first, in order to table exist, first we'll have to create the table, right? First we will have to create. So then we'll have to insert the data, we'll have to select the data. Okay, if at all any alteration is required to the table, so like we need to add the column, we need to remove the column, we need to drop the table. Okay, so just for a different action, different uh, requirements, we will have to use different SQL commands. Okay, to do that, accordingly, okay, this SQL, so from Oracle Corporation, they have divided into 5 types. Data definition language. So the commands which we are going to use it on top of the table definition, table structure. Okay, any command that is going to impact to the table structure, that called as DDLs, data definition languages. Okay, once we have the table, then we will have to insert the data. Okay, when we have to insert the data, like, or when we have to update the data, or when we have to delete the data. So whenever we wanted to perform any kind of insert, update, delete, that we will call it as DML operation, data manipulation. So the data, whatever is there in the database, that data where we are manipulating. So just to accordingly, we are going to call them as DML commands. What are the DML commands? Insert, update, and delete. And DRL, data retrieval. Now we know we have created a table, we have inserted some data, but we need to see what are the different commands. Sorry, what are the different data which is there in the database in that table. So we have to use select. Okay, transaction control language, or commit and rollbacks. Okay, so commit is to perform that any whenever we do any DML operation, so that the data will be get stored in the temporary memory of a database. It's not going to store permanently. So to make the transaction permanently, by which we had done by using DML command, is commit or rollback. Whenever we do any DML operation and somehow we understand that this is wrong, I should not apply this DML command. So immediately to get the data back, we are going to use rollback. Next is DCL, data control language, grant and revoke. Like when we create any user, what we did, we have given privileges from the admin user. So, or to take up the permissions, we are going to use revoke. Okay, so this is, you just need to by heart these things. Okay, so when people are asking in interviews, what is DML commands, what are the different types of SQL, you have to tell all these things. Okay, so next concept is data types. Okay, so you see, these are all thumb rules. Okay, you will have to by heart. See, types of SQL means those only. Okay, so those will not change at all. Those will not change at all. So data type. So the concept of data type is basically when we wanted to create a table, the table should have, the table is going to store the data in the form of rows and columns. Okay, the table is going to store the data in the form of rows and columns. Rows is nothing but actual data, and first we will have to, the columns is nothing but a structure of a table. Column is nothing but a structure of a table. Now each column we have to define what kind of data that we are going to store in that particular column. Okay, is it going to be alphabets? Is it going to be numeric values? Is it going to be alphanumeric values? Is it going to be any date values? Okay, accordingly, so for any column, okay, according to the data, what kind of data that we are going to store in the table or store in the column. So we will have to define the data type for that particular column. So varchar 2 is nothing but it is going to store alphanumeric values, alphabets, alphanumeric values, any value it is going to store. So varchar is basically, it is a string data type, we will call it as, which is going to have 4000 bytes of memory. Each record is going to have 4000 bytes of memory. Okay, but we have to use varchar 2 only. varchar 2 of size we have to give. So how many characters that we have to give? The max is 4000, but how many characters that we will have to use it? Okay, in real time, people will be saying that, so this particular column should store only one value, one character. So how many characters that we wanted to store? So that characters we have to mention here. What is the maximum number? 10 characters or 20 characters or 30 characters. Like that, we will have to specify. The another one is number data type. So whenever we feel that in a particular column, we are just going to store only the numeric values, no nothing else, no alphabets, nothing. So whenever we have to define the data type of that column is number. Okay, P comma S means precision comma scale. Okay, so precision means before the dot how many values should be there. Scale means how many dot, after dot how many values should be there, how many decimal values should be there. Okay, so number, whenever we define number data type to a column, that meaning which is going to accept only the numeric values. And one more data type is date data type. This date data type is going to store only the date values. So we have to pass certain date value by using certain syntax. So we cannot blindly pass the values just like that. Okay, so we will have to pass the values in a specific format. So the date value should be dd mmyy dd/mm/yy or mmddyy. There will be a certain format that we will have to follow. So then only we will be able to understand that this is a date value. Okay, whenever we wanted to pass any date value, then we are going to use for that column as date. So in Oracle, we'll be having 3 different data types. Okay, varchar is going to store alphanumeric values, any value, and number data type is going to store only numeric value. Date data type is going to store only the date values. Any questions in the data type?
Bro, no doubt.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so I'll explain how do we create this table tomorrow. Okay, because there are only few people joined today, so just have this information and get the software installed in your laptops and get ready for the practice from tomorrow. And this user creation and all that you can practice for today. Okay. Okay then. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye, bro. Good day.
Yeah. Bye bye.